My girlfriend planned a trip with her ex and lied about it. I pretended to believe her. Then I showed up at the airport with her conservative parents, and the drama was worth it. I, 29M, discovered my girlfriend was planning a secret getaway with her ex, and what I did next turned into the most satisfying revenge I've ever orchestrated. It started 3 weeks ago when my girlfriend told me she needed to visit her sick grandmother in Portland. She seemed genuinely concerned, talking about how her grandmother's condition was deteriorating and how she might not have much time left. I offered to come with her for support, but she quickly declined, saying her family preferred to keep things small during difficult times. Something felt off, but I trusted her. The first red flag came when I noticed her packing summer clothes for what was supposed to be a somber family visit in rainy Oregon. When I asked about it, she laughed it off, saying the hotel had a nice spa and pool area where she might relax between hospital visits. It seemed reasonable enough, so I let it slide. The second red flag was her phone behavior. She started keeping it face down constantly and would step into another room to take calls. When I asked who was calling so frequently, she claimed it was her mother coordinating family schedules around the grandmother's care. Again, plausible. The third flag was when I saw her researching flights to Miami instead of Portland on her laptop. When she noticed me looking, she quickly closed the browser and said she was helping a coworker plan a vacation. My gut screamed that something was wrong, but I still wanted to believe her. Everything unraveled when her phone buzzed with a text while she was in the shower. The preview showed enough to make my blood run cold. It was from her ex-boyfriend, the one she claimed to have blocked months ago, talking about their upcoming trip and how excited he was to have her all to himself again. My hands shook as I grabbed her phone. I knew her passcode because we'd always been open about these things, or so I thought. The message thread revealed everything. They'd been planning this Miami getaway for weeks. He'd booked a romantic beachfront suite, and she'd been lying to me about every single detail. The messages were intimate, flirtatious, and made it clear this wasn't just a friendly meetup. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. 2 years together, talks about moving in together, meeting each other's families, and she was planning to cheat on me with the guy she swore was completely out of her life. But instead of confronting her immediately, something calculated kicked in. I realized I had an opportunity here, and I was going to make it count. I took screenshots of everything and sent them to myself, then deleted the evidence of my snooping. When she came out of the shower, I acted completely normal. I kissed her goodbye the next morning and told her to have a safe flight to Portland to see her grandmother. That's when I started planning. You see, my girlfriend comes from an extremely conservative family. Her parents are the type who still believe couples shouldn't even live together before marriage. They think holding hands in public is too forward. They've been pushing her to settle down with a nice, traditional boy for years, and they genuinely liked me because I fit their image of the perfect son-in-law material. They had no idea their precious daughter had been living with me for the past 8 months, let alone that she was sneaking off to Miami with her ex-boyfriend for what was clearly going to be a romantic getaway. I called her mother 2 days before the trip. I told her I wanted to surprise my girlfriend by flying out to Portland to support her during this difficult time with her grandmother. I played the concerned, devoted boyfriend perfectly, asking which hospital grandmother was staying at and what flowers I should bring. The confusion in her mother's voice was immediate. She told me grandmother was perfectly fine and asked why I thought she was sick. When I explained about the Portland trip, there was a long pause. Her mother said there was definitely no trip to Portland, and now she was very concerned about where her daughter actually was going. I suggested we figure this out together. I told her I'd noticed some suspicious behavior and was worried something was wrong. I shared just enough information to make her want to investigate without revealing that I already knew everything. Her mother called her father, and within an hour, they'd called me back. They wanted to know everything I'd observed. I carefully walked them through the lies, the secretive phone calls, and the Miami flight searches, painting myself as the confused, worried boyfriend who just wanted to make sure she was safe. They were furious, not just about the lying, but about the implications of what she might be doing. Her father especially was livid that she would deceive her family and her boyfriend like this. That's when I made my suggestion. I told them I'd figured out she was flying to Miami, and I had her flight information. I proposed that we all fly down together to surprise her and make sure she was okay. I framed it as a concerned intervention, not a revenge plot. They agreed immediately. I booked us all on a flight that would arrive 2 hours after hers. Her parents thought we were going to surprise her and figure out why she'd lied. They had no idea what we were actually going to find. The flight to Miami was tense. Her parents kept asking questions about our relationship, about whether I'd noticed other signs of deception. I played the hurt but devoted boyfriend perfectly, expressing confusion and worry about her recent behavior. Her mother kept saying she'd raised her daughter better than this, and her father was muttering about family values and trust. I had tracked down which hotel they were staying at through the ex-boyfriend's social media posts. He'd been posting stories about his upcoming Miami trip for weeks, tagging locations and showing off the resort. It wasn't hard to piece together. When we arrived at the hotel, I suggested we go straight to her room to make sure she was safe. Her parents were completely on board, thinking we were conducting a wellness check on their possibly endangered daughter. The desk clerk initially refused to give us room information, but her father can be very persuasive when he wants to be. He explained that his daughter had lied about her whereabouts, and they were concerned for her safety. Eventually, they confirmed she was registered in the penthouse suite. The elevator ride up was the longest few minutes of my life. Her mother was practicing what she was going to say, something about being worried sick and wanting to understand why she'd lied. Her father was just silent, jaw clenched, clearly preparing for something unpleasant. I knew exactly what we were going to find, but they had no idea. We knocked on the door, and I heard scrambling from inside. Her voice called out asking who it was, and her mother responded. The panic in my girlfriend's voice was immediate and obvious. When the door finally opened, she was in a hotel bathrobe with wet hair, clearly having just thrown something on. Behind her, we could all see her ex-boyfriend in the background, also in a robe, trying to duck out of sight. The look on her face when she saw all three of us standing there was something I'll never forget. Pure terror, mixed with confusion and the dawning realization that her entire web of lies had just collapsed. Her mother asked her very directly why she was in Miami with her ex-boyfriend when she was supposed to be in Portland taking care of her sick grandmother. What followed was the most awkward, devastating conversation I've ever witnessed. My girlfriend tried to lie her way out of it at first, claiming the ex-boyfriend had surprised her there, that she'd come to Miami to clear her head about grandmother's condition, that it wasn't what it looked like. But her parents weren't buying any of it. Her father demanded to know how long she'd been lying to them, how long she'd been planning this trip, and whether she was cheating on me. The ex-boyfriend, to his credit, realized immediately what was happening and tried to leave. But her father blocked the door and told him he needed to explain his part in this situation. Under pressure from her parents, the truth started coming out. The trip had been planned for weeks. This wasn't the first time they'd met up behind my back. They'd been talking regularly for months, and she'd been considering leaving me for him. Her mother started crying. Her father was angrier than I'd ever seen anyone, and I just stood there, watching my girlfriend's entire world implode around her. But I wasn't done yet. I pulled out my phone and showed her parents the screenshots I'd taken of her messages with the ex-boyfriend. The flirtatious texts, the planning conversations, the intimate details about their relationship. I explained that I'd known about the trip all along and had been trying to figure out the best way to handle the situation. Her parents were devastated, not just by the cheating and lying, but by the realization that she'd been deceiving everyone in her life. Her mother kept asking how she could have raised a daughter who would be so dishonest and disrespectful. The ex-boyfriend tried to defend her, saying they were in love and that she'd been planning to break up with me anyway. This just made her father angrier, and he started questioning why. If that were true, she'd continued lying to everyone instead of just ending things honestly. My girlfriend finally broke down completely. She admitted she'd been confused, that she'd been having feelings for her ex, but wasn't sure what she wanted to do about our relationship. She said she'd planned this trip to figure out her feelings, but she knew it was wrong. Her mother asked her directly if she'd been living with me, something they'd always forbidden. When my girlfriend hesitated, I confirmed that she'd been staying at my place for 8 months, paying half the rent and utilities. This was apparently the final straw for her parents. They told her they were ashamed of her choices and that she'd violated every value they'd tried to instill in her. Her father said he was disgusted by her dishonesty and that she'd humiliated herself and her family. The ex-boyfriend was getting increasingly uncomfortable with the family drama and tried to leave again. This time, her father let him go, but not before telling him that he was contributing to the destruction of their daughter's character and that he should be ashamed of himself. After he left, we were alone with my girlfriend and her parents in this hotel suite that was clearly set up for a romantic getaway. There were champagne bottles, rose petals, dim lighting. The evidence of what she'd been planning was everywhere. Her mother asked me what I wanted to do about the relationship. I told them I'd love their daughter, but I couldn't continue with someone who would lie so extensively and plan to cheat rather than just ending things honestly. I said I respected myself too much to stay with someone who would treat me this way. Her parents said they understood and that they supported my decision. Her mother apologized to me for her daughter's behavior and said I deserved better. My girlfriend begged me to talk privately, to let her explain, to give her a chance to make things right. But I told her there was nothing to explain. She'd made her choices, and I'd made mine. I left the hotel with her parents, and we flew back home together the next day. Her parents spent the flight talking about how disappointed they were and how they'd failed to raise her with proper values. I mostly listened, playing the role of the wronged but dignified boyfriend. Update 1. The aftermath has been even more dramatic than I expected. My girlfriend stayed in Miami for the rest of her planned trip, but apparently the ex-boyfriend checked out of the hotel that same night. According to her social media posts, which I've been monitoring through mutual friends, she spent the remainder of her vacation alone, posting cryptic messages about making mistakes and learning from consequences. When she got back, she'd been essentially cut off by her family. Her parents told her they needed time to process her behavior and that she wasn't welcome at family gatherings until she could prove she'd changed her values and approach to relationships. She's been trying to contact me constantly. Phone calls, text messages, emails, even showing up at my workplace. She's apologized repeatedly, claimed the trip was a mistake, said she realized she loved me and wanted to work things out. But here's the thing that really validated my approach. I found out from mutual friends that this wasn't her first time cheating. Apparently, she'd had an ongoing emotional affair with her ex for months, and there had been other incidents of dishonesty in her past relationships that I'd never known about. Her friends have been divided in their reactions. Some think I was cruel for orchestrating the airport confrontation with her parents. Others think she got what she deserved for being so dishonest and manipulative. The best part is that her ex-boyfriend completely ghosted her after the hotel incident. Apparently, he'd been expecting a fun, no-strings-attached vacation hookup, not a family intervention and relationship drama. He blocked her on everything and told mutual friends he wanted nothing to do with the situation. So she ended up losing both relationships and damaging her family connections, all because she couldn't be honest about what she wanted. Update 2. It's been 6 weeks since Miami, and the situation has evolved in ways I didn't expect. My ex-girlfriend has been in therapy, apparently trying to understand why she makes dishonest choices in relationships. Her mother reached out to me last week to let me know and to apologize again for her daughter's behavior. She also mentioned that they've discovered this pattern of lying and cheating goes back to high school, which explains a lot about her behavior patterns. She's also been telling people that I manipulated the situation and that bringing her parents was cruel and unnecessary. Some of our mutual friends have started taking sides, with a few suggesting that I went too far with the revenge. But then something interesting happened. Her ex-boyfriend from before the guy she cheated with reached out to me on social media. Apparently, she'd pulled similar stunts with him, including lying about family emergencies to cover up cheating. He wanted to thank me for exposing her pattern and said he wished someone had done the same thing when he was being deceived. This made me realize that my revenge wasn't just about getting back at her for hurting me. It was about stopping a pattern of behavior that was going to keep hurting people. By exposing everything in such a dramatic way, I'd created consequences that might actually force her to change. Her parents have started going to family counseling to understand how they missed the signs of her dishonesty and how they can better support her in making healthier choices. They've maintained their boundary about not including her in family events, but they're working toward eventual reconciliation if she can demonstrate real change. Meanwhile, I've been doing surprisingly well. The revenge was satisfying, but what's been even better is the clarity and closure it provided. I know exactly why the relationship ended. I know it wasn't my fault, and I know I made the right choice in walking away. I've started dating someone new, someone who values honesty and communication. When I told her the story of how my last relationship ended, she said she was impressed by how I'd handled it and that it showed her I had strong boundaries and self-respect. Update 3. 3 months post-Miami, and I'm writing what I hope will be my final update on this situation. My ex-girlfriend has apparently made significant changes in her life. She moved back in with her parents to rebuild those relationships and has been consistently attending therapy. Her mother told me she's been honest about her past patterns and is working to understand why she developed such deceptive habits. More importantly, she stopped trying to contact me about 6 weeks ago. Her last message was a genuine apology that took responsibility for her actions without asking for anything in return. She acknowledged that her pattern of dishonesty had been harmful to multiple people and that she needed to focus on changing herself rather than trying to fix the relationships she'd damaged. The friend group drama has mostly settled down. People have moved on to other gossip, and those who were critical of my methods have generally acknowledged that her behavior was worse than my response to it. The ex-boyfriend who she cheated with apparently tried to reconnect with her a few weeks ago, but she turned him down. According to mutual friends, she told him she needed to learn to be honest with herself before she could be in any relationship. That actually impressed me and suggested she might be taking her therapy seriously. Her parents have started including her in family events again, but with clear boundaries about honesty and communication. Her mother mentioned they're all in a better place now than they were before Miami, because the crisis forced them to address problems that had been building for years. As for me, I've realized this whole experience taught me valuable lessons about trusting my instincts and maintaining my self-respect. When something feels wrong in a relationship, it usually is. And sometimes the most dramatic response is actually the most effective one. The woman I'm dating now has heard this entire story, and she says it makes her feel secure knowing I won't tolerate deception or disrespect. She appreciates that I handled the situation decisively rather than letting myself be manipulated or drawn into ongoing drama. Looking back, I don't regret bringing her parents to Miami. It was dramatic, yes, but it was also the most effective way to create real consequences for her actions and to protect myself from further manipulation. Sometimes people need their entire world to see their behavior clearly before they're motivated to change. The revenge was satisfying in the moment, but the long-term satisfaction has come from knowing I handled a difficult situation with integrity and strength. I stood up for myself, exposed the truth, and walked away with my dignity intact. I hope my ex-girlfriend continues to grow and change, but I'm glad it's no longer my concern. I learned what I needed to learn, got the closure I needed, and moved forward with someone who shares my values around honesty and respect. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing someone's bad behavior. It's creating a situation where they have to face the consequences and decide whether to change or keep losing the people who matter to them. In this case, it worked out better than I could have planned. If you'd like to see more stories like this, a gentle tap on the subscribe and hype button would mean the world to us. Please subscribe and press the hype button. Thanks in advance.